I'm Robert Miller Anderson, and I think I'm moved now to move to a ditty of ours, which is San Francisco, open your golden gate. Don't let no stranger wait outside your door. San Francisco, here comes your wandering one, saying I'll wander no more. And then I'd like to read this from the journal of Father Vicente Santa Maria on the first exploration of San Francisco Bay in 1775. Our men stayed longer with the little Indians than with the women, feeling great commiseration for those innocents whom they could not readily help under the many difficulties that would come with them, the carrying out of a new and far-reaching extension of Spanish authority. So my question is, fight or flight? As a species, how do we know when to migrate? And one of the things I'm working on now is a movie called Windows on the World, which is about a kid whose father is a busboy on the Windows of the World restaurant. And so after 9/11, when the building comes down, the weekly checks and phone calls stop coming to the family. But in the third week, the mother swears that she sees on news footage her husband getting out of the building safe. So the son has to take his money, his savings, and make the migration to New York. And this is because of clearly economic displacement, seemingly in one place, that affects the whole globe. He ends up getting a job also as a window washer from a Nigerian who has also experienced what other people may not even know, which was the Biafra War, where there was a massacre of 200,000 dead and 2 million dead by the end of the war, for a little perspective. And then I'm working on a novel right now called A Sin to Stay Down. And it is about how the environment and climate change has affected species as well, and our working class crunch up in Mendocino County. But because of the environment, no logs, so no loggers, no fishermen, so no fish, no truckers anymore because there's nothing to truck. Nobody working on mechanics really because there's no skidders and there's no trucks. But there is a huge marijuana industry up there. Simultaneously, in a little town called Uruapan in Michoacan, there's a huge bunch of people that have not had to leave because of the avocados. Half of Michoacan has immigrated at one point to the United States, but the avocado fields have given jobs to our main character. But the mafia has taken over the avocado fields, causing him to leave and then end up working, unbeknownst to him, in the marijuana fields for the same mafia down in Michoacan. Interesting enough, too, there's the largest, it's called the biosphere, the largest migration of monarch butterflies that cross from Uruapan and Michoacan over into the United States. And the monarch is one of the only species that makes its migration without any member of its family, a grandfather butterfly, a grandfather sparrow, or something like that, of the swallows, ever taking the trip. In fact, 5 generations will live and die before it migrates, and it knows when to migrate and where. And if you go back 5 generations or so, this, lo and behold, was Mexico. So this gentleman is not crossing any borders at all. Working on another thing called The Death of Teddy Ballgame, which is a play that essentially takes place in Café Trieste after the apocalypse. Everything bad has happened, and it has happened in nuclear war, SARS, pollution. And it's about how, in the face of that, we create community and ritual and culture. Something else I worked on was the SF Jazz Center, where I felt the culture of the city was changing and becoming gentrified, another kind of migration. And so that's another way of basically trying to fight instead of flight. And these people have to decide whether they go look for air pockets in Canada or stay here and wait for their loved ones to come home, creating a semblance of community, not knowing if this is the day they can drink their coffee or not. Of course, those people are all people who live in SROs and stuff because they don't have the money to go. This is another way I'm trying to help, which is trying not to kill the planet and to have things work, which is a bottle company with reusable pods that ends up basically saving 90% of the waste that's going out, including the trucking and shipping of it all. And then lastly, you just got to get out in the streets and you talk to people, which I think is not necessarily happening in San Francisco as things change. As 30 years ago, our firemen and police officers and nurses and teachers were all displaced to live somewhere other than the city. And I think that's unbelievably changed things. And certainly Greece is going through an economic pyramid scheme and trying to fight their way. And they might have to migrate right there in possibly the basis of Western civilization.
Well done. And we share California history in common, and many of you know about the monarch, I'm sure, in Mexico, but they don't migrate anymore to, right?
Some of them do. Some of them still make it all the way to Montana.
They do.
Yeah.
I found some in my garden the other day, and I was thrilled.
Yeah. It's
a
species watch for sure, like right with the bee.